Pumped up about this one. This is good. I always love doing the mock draft shows, man. These are like my favorite shows of the week. No, they're definitely my favorite. They're not like, they are definitely my favorite shows of the week, man. I love doing these. So glad y'all are back for this. Today we got a good one. We got a good one. All right. We're picking up where we left off. Not really, actually. I don't think anybody that we drafted last time is actually in this mock draft. So we're not picking up where we left off. I don't know why I said that, but we're doing a different mock with a lot of different players. We're going to get some new names in here. Maybe certain guys that we haven't talked about very much, maybe a little bit. I don't know. I guess maybe we'll find out, I guess, as we go if I've talked about these guys that much. But we're making trades again. We're back to making trades. A lot of trades. And we're still using PFF today. Now, I was going to change that up. I thought about it. But I want to make sure that it makes sense. I really what I want to do is try to make it like a shorter mock, but like have it almost happen live. That way it fits still in our 30-minute time slot and it makes sense. We'll do that eventually. All right. It's just starting April now. We got some time. We'll eventually get to that. But still, for now, I think the best process is just using PFF and going through it that way. But that leads to a lot of trades ultimately. Just a quick disclaimer, because the players are ranked in a certain way where they're pretty much going to go in the same range all the time. All right. Unless you're drafting the player, they're going to go in the same spots every time. So for that reason, you got to move around to get the guys that you want. Unless maybe you move the randomness up. Maybe I should try that. I never touch the filters, by the way. I don't. I'm not lying. I never do. But maybe I should. Maybe I need to start cranking that randomness up. That way I get some craziness and it's unpredictable. I don't know. I don't know what that's going to turn into. I saw, you know what I saw today? I saw someone do a mock draft and he messed with the filters a little bit. He messed with them it wasn't even crazy. And it gave the Detroit, because he wasn't drafting for the Lions. The Lions ended up drafting 2 running backs back to back. Right. They went Hampton in the first round, which I'm like, all right, that doesn't make any sense. But hey, it's Hampton. Okay, I could see it being first round. And then it came back. And I think we took RJ Harvey like in the 3rd round. So I'm like, all right, maybe the randomness button, don't mess with that. Because he only moved it up a little bit. It wasn't like you went full. So if you went full, I don't know what's going to happen. But I don't know if they consider that randomness. I don't know what that would be considered. I have no idea. But that happened. That's a lot of things to say. But let's get right into this. We actually don't have as many players today because I traded so much. And unfortunately, I did something that I hate to do. Y'all know I hate to do this, man. I gave up a future draft pick. I know. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to, but I try to go by the value chart and try to make it make sense. And ultimately, that led to me giving up a future draft pick. So I guess maybe I could have gotten it back if I would have played the board differently. Maybe. I don't know. But we gave up a future one. We'll figure it out. Okay, let's go right through it. I'm going to throw it up on the screen. Bam. Because yeah, that won't happen. Because it's going to give everything away at once. So we're going to talk through these, and I will make sure I'm showing the right mock draft this time, because I know last time I did not. So let's throw that on the screen. Let me go like this real quick. Bam. Let's talk through this, man. Back to another mock draft. All right, let's start at the top. Let's start at the top first, and we'll make this make sense as we go. Here's the interesting thing, though. I want to just hit on this right away, because we're obviously making trades, and I guess we got to go through the trade first. Well, this isn't actually a trade. I'm so used to making trades. This one actually doesn't even include a trade. This is just me standing pat, sitting at 28, taking Tyler Booker. I'm a little bit weird on whether or not I actually think he's going to get there, right? You think of an interior offensive lineman, those guys can fall a little bit further. You wonder about Gray Zabel. The more I watch him, I kind of think he's a center. I think will be his best spot in the NFL, but teams can view him kind of anywhere. So he actually has, to me, probably the most variance, because of like, hey, where teams view him positionally is going to change a lot. It's going to affect how you view him. Or if you're just like, we view him as every position, then maybe you don't even need that position right now, right? Because if you just view him as any spot, maybe you don't have an actual hole. So how are you actually taking that player? So I think he's one of the most interesting prospects. But the entire offensive class as a whole today and over the last few days, I've kind of went back through it a little bit. I had my initial rankings. Certain things have changed for me slightly, nothing super dramatic. But things have updated. Things have changed when I've went through it. I think the biggest thing is, though, maybe I just feel less strongly about this offensive tackle group as a whole. I think that's kind of the biggest thing. Or maybe even just guys that could transition to guard, because that's how I'm looking at it from a Lions perspective. Guys that I also trust at guard. I mean, you don't have to play guard, but for why I'm drafting you, you kind of have to play guard, right? It has to make sense. But ultimately, like Calvin Banks, I came in, just as a disclosure here, coming into this whole draft cycle like months ago. That was, I think, one of the first positional groups we ended up ranking. I had him as my number 1 offensive tackle. I had Kelvin Banks number 1. And going back through, I struggle with it a little bit. Not just struggle with having him at 1. Like, yeah, obviously that. But simply also because for me with Calvin Banks, like there's the issues that I had with him, I felt just showed up more and more. And it was just more consistent. I'm like, man, it doesn't feel like a surefire player. Like I remember when I originally did the thing on him, I was like, I felt so good about it. and then adding more games to the list, I'm like, I just don't feel that way anymore. I don't dislike him. I can understand a team like I can understand the Lions, like a guy like Kelvin Banks, for example. Why teams would view him as a guard? But man, some of the concerns that I have, I'm like, man, I think he might be better at tackle. I think it might. People always assume like, oh, you move him to guard, it's easy, like that kind of thing. I think he might be better at tackle. Right. That's kind of, I flipped. I'm not even flipped. It's just like I came in with the assumption, like, all right, maybe he, I like him more at guard. Like, no, I think I like him more at tackle. So it's weird. I think the whole tackle group like that is kind of weird. I like Josh Simmons a ton the more I continue to watch him, but it's, obviously the injuries that he's coming off, which is going to impact stuff because I think he can truly play inside, outside, be great. But ultimately, we're going to sit here, we're going to take Tyler Booker. And Tyler Booker is one of the most consistent players, I think, for me when it comes to the offensive line to this point. Just offensive line that I've went through, specifically at the top. Tyler Booker has been so consistent for me, right? There's things that I don't love. I think they're average in the most cases, but there's also areas that I love about his game that I really like, that I feel very confident about. Pass protection is a huge part of that. Big part of that comes back to control, right? Control is a critical factor for me for an offensive lineman. I think he's got very good control. If you don't have that, there's a problem, right? You'll get up and down with Kelvin Banks. You'll up and down with a lot of guys that are playing a tackle. It could be less consistent at guard. You'll get up and down with Gray Zabel, right? And even though you view him as a guard, it concerns me a little bit. Tyler Booker, I don't have that many concerns with. Now, obviously, we can go competition. The biggest thing about Tyler Booker, let's just get right to it, that people are going to question is the athleticism. They're like, oh, man, we'll look at him. I don't know if he can do anything outside of a power-based scheme, which is a fair concern because he's not the most athletic player. Like, for me, reactive athleticism got an average grade when I had originally went through it. So he's not. But that being said, because we're drafting him for the Lions, I said, okay, let me also look at who the Lions have at guard. Like how different is, because a lot of it came back to the way that he tested in. The numbers that he posted, I think, added a lot more fuel to the fire of that whole discussion of like, well, how limited is he schematically, that kind of thing. Does it have to be a team that's only gap scheme or power scheme based, right? Can he do wide zone, for example? Well, so then I go and I look back, all right, let's just take a look at all of the guards that we have, right? And let's look at how those numbers compare to Tyler Booker's numbers. And while Tyler Booker's are worse, right, because they're not good numbers, that's a big knock on him, they're actually not that far off from a lot of our guards. Like if you go and you compare it directly to even Colby Sorstel, right? I remember Colby Sorstel, he played right tackle. I was thinking, man, he's going to be super athletic numbers. Like, obviously, these guys aren't going to be similar. Then you look at it and you're like, all right, well, considering the size, Booker is 6'4.5", 320 pounds, which is much bigger than Sorstel was coming out. And you put the numbers side by side and you're like, actually, that's not far off. Like, none of the testing scores are really that far off between the two. So I'm like, okay, that's really interesting. And we know he went back to tackle. I put it next to a guy like Christian Mahogany. Mahogany's in a better spot numbers wise. He's probably the worst person to put side by side because Mahogany was a pretty good athlete actually coming out, but a 7.81 cone drill versus a 7.96 cone drill or 7.90 cone drill that we saw Tyler Booker post, right? It's like, okay, that's not too far off. The 40 times definitely share some differences here. Well, when you kind of put those things side by side, there's some differences there for sure. One's a sub 5, one's above a 540. But for the most part, like the numbers weren't that far off for me when I went through Nitain Mutai. Now, Nitain Mutai actually doesn't have testing scores. Take that back. But Graham Glasgow, like if you look at Graham Glasgow, we know he's a good athlete, get up to the second level. But a lot of these testing scores aren't that different, right? There's a gap. Obviously, we have better athletes there. But this is going to be the case with most places that he goes. The teams are going to have a better testing athlete. So then I'm like, okay, the gap isn't so significant where I'm like scared, like, oh man, I just don't know. And I still came away with an average grade in that category, but ultimately I draft a guy for the things that I like. And there's a lot of these guys I think that need better hand usage. There's a lot of guys I think need to clean that up. There's a lot of guys that need to clean up sustainability. And those things for me, while hands were a little bit closer to average for me with Tyler Booker, the sustainability to me was very good. I talk about very good control. Those are things that you can bank on. If you got those things, I believe you can immediately be productive, immediately be counted on. Like I think certain tackles that you're like, I'll just put him at guard. I don't know if it's going to be an upgrade over Graham Glasgow and Mahogany right away. I think Tyler Booker, clear cut, will be. He's going to be better there. So I keep that in mind. I think about like, okay, I could see this because even remember Mahogany, when he was coming out, there was a lot of a similar viewpoint. Like Mahogany was going to be a downhill power scheme, right? He's going to be a gap scheme. And when he's with us, he looks a good athlete. He gets out the ball pretty well, pretty quickly, but you just run behind him. You play him on the front side. So maybe you'd want something a little bit different to completely offset. But again, Zeitler was able to do that. And obviously Graham Glasgow does that too. Leadership is fantastic here for him. Just overall for me, pass protection is the big thing. And when he comes in pass protection wise, your pass protection is going to be a lot better. He's actually one of the more competent players that I personally have in terms of pass protection for an offensive lineman, especially towards the top. Like I know that's going to be good. And personally, I have probably a slight bias to that. I also think it's more important in today's NFL. But for us, like I know we need interior protection for the golf. I know if that's messy, we're in trouble. And we've seen it. All the games where things get bad. Think about Green Bay. When Graham Glasgow starts to get cooked, he gives up 9 pressures. And you're like, oh, snap. This is a problem. This is the problem. The game goes sideways really fast. I'm not going to have that concern with Booker. And to be honest, there's just not a lot of linemen that I have in this draft where I'm like, I don't have any concerns. And that goes to the top. That's not like just the mid-round guys. That's everybody. So for me, I feel really comfortable with Tyler Booker. Like when it comes back to it, if he's actually sitting there at 28, which I would honestly be pretty surprised if he was sitting there at 28, because I think any team that just wants a guard to plug in and play and know that you're getting a very good player, they're going to take him. I mean, the thing will be like, all right, what's his position flexibility, athleticism again. But again, it's not far off from what we even have at guard. So for me, this was we can go back into this one. We can dive back into this one. This was one of the easier ones for me to make the decision on. Like this wasn't a hard decision for me. He's got kind of a finishing mentality to his game, which I always like. Like there's certain guy, Jonas Savania, I brought this up before. I didn't feel like he had that dog in him. And I wanted to I like the athleticism, like a tackle to guard. I just never got there with him. I feel that with Booker. The leadership, right? The two-time team captain, I believe that he was as well. Like all those things check the boxes. Tyler Booker is going to work in the NFL. I don't doubt that. So that's why I made that pick. Now, let's get into the next pick. This one, I did want to kind of change things up with this next pick. So that's why we kind of went this direction. But at the same time, obviously we have a lot of edge rushers that are kind of stacked similarly to each other. I have that personally. A lot of my edge rushers are right close to each other. A lot of those guys I've done videos on, so you can see those breakdowns. For me, it's going to come down to fit, right? Finding the right fit. And I would like the Lions to jump in at least the first 3 rounds and grab somebody, because I think that there's just enough there where it's like, man, it'd be nice to walk away with something here. Don't walk away with nothing at this positional group. And this time around, I went with Braden Swinson. Now, based on their board, I could have went JT Tuimoloau, who I like. I'm not as high on, but I like JT Tuimoloau. But I got to be honest. So we did a video on Michael Williams. I've done on a lot of these guys. And I know that I think like Michael Williams, Lions are going to trade up. They'll go get Michael Williams. We did the video, our last show on here, I think was like guys that feel like Lions, and I had him in that list. Braden Swinson, to me, in terms of play style, gives me the most vibes of Marcus Davenport. I even wrote it down in my comp, and I kind of forgot I did it. Like, it looks like a mini Marcus Davenport. Now, he played a lot more stand-up. You wonder about putting his hand in the dirt. I can ask him to just play stand-up more. Remember that was a big thing about Hutchinson? Like, oh, well, can he play with his hand? Like, remember that was a thing, and then it's like, it's actually not that big of a deal. For me, I don't think that's going to be a big deal for Swinson, because what he does bring is he's a super powerful player. He brings a lot of length. The build is also really good, 6'3.5", 255 pounds. But the big thing to me is right there is I feel like I'm watching a mini Marcus Davenport. I don't think he's as large in stature. He's also a little more top heavy for me than anything. But ultimately, like this past season, he broke out 22% pass rush win rate. I think that was according to PFF. That was the number somewhere. That was his number. So he had a great breakout year. And it was because he was at Oregon first, didn't produce a ton there, then moves to LSU. And it's really the last season that it breaks out. New defensive line coach that they get in the building. And I just love watching him play. Like his dominant reps are dominant. And I think about something that, about this, the looking and grading on the flashes, right? When Swinson's at his best, man, it is disgusting. It kind of reminds me of Davenport in that sense too. Like when he's got a great rep, it is disgusting. And I thought the huge thing was here is the capability to open up so much as a pass rusher was the big thing. Like obviously he's a very powerful player. I have him with a very good to great grade here, which is one of the highest grades that I've given any edge rusher in terms of power that he plays with. I think his first step is also a plus. I don't always feel like the timing was as consistent, but you'd see jumps. He'd get off the ball. You see a jet. He'd jump that. He'd get guys to have false start penalties because of that as well. And then when he wanted to go, he could go. Like he could crank it up. He had some of that build-up speed. I thought the big thing was he could carry speed through the hand usage as well. So he was able to really maintain things, right? He could get into some of his moves around the arc where he could also still build up speed. And I think he wasn't even tapping into the fact that he's not even setting these up incredibly well. He's not even setting up the outside move that well, yet he still gets a step on the edge. Now, I wish there was a little bit more clearance that he would give himself, that he actually could finish more often than not when he gets to the top shoulder of an offensive tackle, because he doesn't finish as often there, right? He kind of just spills the pocket a little bit more, kind of flushes the quarterback upfield. And I think some of that is a little bit of the bend as well, but he can really sink. You'll see it when he takes on pullers. He can drop himself down with ease, settle in. He doesn't give up any movement in those spots. There's some inconsistencies like with body control. I think shed was the area I want most work done. Some of that comes back to hand usage, but just in general, some of the shed, how he enters into contact. But then you see him get downhill and you'll see him just run tight ends 3 yards backwards. And it was interesting because it's kind of the same thing for Booker on the flip side. Like Tyler Booker, I feel like constantly plays beyond the line of scrimmage. Inside zone, he's pushing guys back 2 yards. He's constantly living beyond the line of scrimmage, which I like. He's a people mover. And I feel that way with Swinson as well. Now, he got a lot of on-ball press production. He got a lot of that 6 technique work where you put him right over a tight end. So we got to work on a tight end one-on-one. But when in those spots, and he's just living behind the line of scrimmage, constantly just setting guys back. This is where the rep's going to start. So I got kind of the same sense on both sides from 2 different players on both sides of the ball. He feels like a guy that would make sense for the Lions. It wouldn't surprise me if this is a prototype that they were looking after. And he actually surprised me a little bit in space. Like early, I was like, oh, I don't know about the agility here. And it was more so about body control than anything to me. Like even in space, his tackler control felt a little bit messy and clunky. He felt a little herky jerky, but the agility surprised me. He was way better in coverage than I expected. Like I was like, okay, I wouldn't ask him to do it as much as they even did at LSU. But even in the flats, it was like, this is fine. He takes away the quarterback well. He shows some discipline there. He can really work rangy. He's sideline to sideline. We saw him contain Milrow like 3 or 4 times in that game where he's just not letting Milrow go by. It was like, oh, I'm keeping him right here. I'm going to force him out to the sideline. So you got to see a lot of that athleticism on display for me. Very long. I think Braden Swinson is, again, I think it's a mashed up group of edge rushers. I could see him falling further than this, but this is where PFF also has him. So it's like, yeah, if you don't take him here, you're just not going to get him. So I think it's a good way to kind of change the pace. Ultimately, we're probably going to have a video on this player as well because there's a lot of things that I like about him. He's got kind of the loose hips off his get off too, which I like. That reminded me a lot of Donovan Ezeraku. He has kind of that same ability off the line. He's got some looseness in the lower body as well, which can kind of help him set up the paths and angles to the quarterback. So some similarities also carry over there. But Braden Swinson, actually, that was the best grade they gave me. Shockingly, they gave me an A on that grade. That feels pretty good. I guess because I drafted a need, I guess. So Braden Swinson gives me an A. Good stuff there. All right, let's move on to the third round. Actually, let me address that because we did make a trade. So we had to move up, as you see, and this is where I hate to give up future picks. But we did have to throw a future one in here just to make this work. Because as you see, I gave up pick 60, 102, and 130 to also get back 115. I wanted to get back a pick kind of in this area. Like I always hate that gap that I give up once I trade out. Of like, yo, there's like 60 picks that I got to just chill. And as soon as I make this trade and give up 102 and 130, I'm like, yo, I really am going to have a massive gap here. So to make it make sense on the value chart, I ended up getting 115 back. So essentially going back 13 spots in that round. Throw in, going 13 spots back in that round. So we throw in 130 on top of that, and we also give him a future fifth, and we get a little kickback with the 7th rounder. I just didn't want to have that massive gap that typically happens if I make that move, and that's kind of what I try to avoid here. So as you can see, things are a little bit more spaced out within the first few rounds. It's almost 3 top 100 picks. It doesn't matter because it's just how their board is set up. But ultimately, I wanted just a little bit more than a massive gap before I got to this next draft pick and really the one after that. And as you can see, we got Jamari Caldwell next from Oregon. Jamari Caldwell was first impression immediately. Love watching Jamari Caldwell. And I think that he's going to be someone that could fit into one of our future feels like a Lions pick. Like this or feels like a Lion. We did that video on Wednesday. He might be on a future segment of this. And to me, this wasn't even feeling that need as much, right? Even Brad Holmes, like, yeah, defensive line's kind of heavy. Wasn't even really feeling a need. I like Jamari Caldwell. I like him a lot. And when I saw that the name kind of matched up with sitting at 115 after getting that trade back, because I didn't move, I was just sitting there. I went back and I'm like, man, I remember really liking Jamari Caldwell. Let me check them notes back out. And I go back through, I'm like, this does make sense, right? He's a little bit shorter in terms of arm, 32-inch arms, but I think there's flexibility to play not only nose tackle, but also kick to some of the 3 technique a little bit, play outside of the guard a little bit. So it gives you a little bit of flexibility within the interior, which I like as well. And I think we're going to need that, right? Even Brad laid it out there like, yo, Aleem probably going to miss a lot of the early season. Like that's just how it's going to go. We'll see him at the end of the regular season, hopefully. So we're going to miss that, which means Levi will probably kick inside a little bit. So on top of that, now it's like, okay, can I get a little flexibility back? And I think Jamari Caldwell adds that. He actually gives me some vibes of how the Aleem McNeil situation went down originally. Like when I think about, especially how they have their board lined up, and when Brad Holmes originally took Aleem McNeil, and he was like, man, Aleem McNeil, he's like the last pure nose tackle available, so we got to go get him. And they went and got him. And obviously he's been amazing. I get vibes of that of Jamari Caldwell. Like he's not going to be this ultimate athletic presence or build wise, but he kind of feels like the last like true nose tackle. But as we know, Aleem McNeil's not even a nose tackle really anymore. The guy's playing outside the guard all the time. So it's a little bit different, which I think is fantastic. So I don't know. I just get a vibe that this could be kind of that range, right? It's early 4th round. This could be very similar to how the Aleem McNeil whole situation went down. He actually does bring some juice as a pass rusher, which is good as well for me. And he's shown the capabilities to handle double teams and single blocks. I thought I wanted to see him be more dominant against single blocks, right? It's a 4th round pick. We're going to have to dial some things in there, but the pad level is very leveraged. He's got some of that naturally just based on the way that he's built a little bit, and he can play with some bend there. I like to see him again dominate single blocks, play a little more control in those spots, but leverage tips on entry. He was strong on his toes. He can continue to keep pass rush reps alive because of some of that strength really within the toes as well. He could work scrapes pretty well as well. He had an adequate kind of quickness and get off to his game, which would show up. And then he had an ability to shed. He had an ability to shed through his hips. There was a suddenness. There's a control to settle himself in. There was a footwork to kind of redirect over blocks. I think there's position flexibility here. Gives me a lot of Aleem McNeil vibes. And actually, I don't have his exact measurements wrote down on this for whatever reason. I usually do that. I don't have it wrote down. We'll come back to that. But I think it's going to be similar to this feels very similar to the Liam McNeil move when we initially made it. Okay, that moves me on to 166. Now, this actually was the last trade we did. So we end up giving up 196, 225, and 220. I didn't want to give another future round pick, but we had all these late picks, and getting 225 back from the original trade really allowed this to shake. So I'm glad it did. I may have been ultra aggressive with this one, but I also didn't want to like miss the player. So I was like, let's just do it. And here's the thing. Linebacker, to me, this decision wasn't, I don't want to, it was twofold. It wasn't just, oh, I like Danny Stutzman. Let's take him. By the way, Rad loves Danny Stutzman. I think. I don't know. He hit me up yesterday with a mock draft. And he's like, look at my mock draft. He's like, I want Stutzman. Okay, that was very random, but okay, I see you. So hopefully he's watching this. He'll love this. But it was also going through a lot of these other linebackers, which has been my focus over the last couple of days specifically. The less I feel great about this room. Like, I thought linebackers were pretty strong because I really am a big fan of Demetrius Knight. I'm a big fan of Carson Schweschinger. It's just going to figure out what team does he fit. But then Jeffrey Bassa, I'm pretty low on. I'm not that high on Jeffrey Bassa. Chris Paul, like, there's elements of his game that I like, but instinctually there's some problems within his game. At one point I was like, maybe you got to put him on the ball. Like, he looks like a wall you're running into when he hits people, but there's real elements that I have that are concerned. They have ranked way too high in my opinion. Then I go to Barrett Carter. I'm not that high. I'm just like, one, he's going to be limited in how he fits in the teams. Don't know how many teams are actually going to love this kind of build for him either. There's issues that I have with this game too. So going through these linebackers, man, I'm just like, I don't love it. I really don't. But Danny Stutzman was the guy that actually emerged when watching the other guys, right? It's a weird situation, but he was actually the guy that emerged to me when watching the other linebackers, because as I'm watching, I'm thinking to myself, like, Danny Stutzman does that better. I liked how he did that a little bit better. And he actually tested way better than I expected. I didn't look at his testing scores until I did this video, seeing that he ran the 4.5 240. I didn't even know he ran that fast. That surprised the heck out of me. I didn't know he tested in that well. But after watching him and feeling like, oh, he does that a little bit better, I think. And then watching these other guys, I'm like, let me go check back on Danny Stutzman and what I had here. And ultimately, man, like, I think this is a really fine range for him, especially when you think about the athleticism, because I don't think it always flashes on film as often. Some of that play speed doesn't always show up as often there. And that's why I didn't expect that was going to be his testing score specifically. But man, I know people knock his coverage. I really like some elements of his coverage. I like the activeness with his eyes that he plays with. I think he plays with much better field awareness. He's not as tunnel vision as some of these other linebackers, which is going to add a little bit more flexibility as a true off-ball backer. I think there's just more accuracy when you look at that specifically in coverage for me in a lot of ways. Like, the technique and pursuit for me is nice as well. Just a little bit more sound, a little more fluid as a linebacker. He plays a little bit tall, right? He's got kind of that neck roll going on, the old school neck roll going on. But he's got fast eyes, man, a smooth pedal. You could see him kind of redirect in space. I think that's pretty fluid as well. Just ultimately for me here, man, I felt really comfortable with Danny Stutzman. And he became more comfortable for me after watching more linebackers. And that's what led me to ultimately making this pick. So it's a weird way to do it, but it's also, I think, the right way to do it. And it gives you a real tell about how you feel about a player once you start to really stack it, because it is what it is when you think about a guy. But once you start to stack, you start to see other guys and you're like, yeah, I think this guy did that better. I return and I'm like, I actually kind of like this guy a little bit more. So let me jump on that. Let me not miss out here on a linebacker because I like the guy. And I think he's going to add special teams value too. But we can revisit that one. That leaves us with our final draft pick. And we're going to go safety here. This was our last pick. I didn't have anything else to work with. I didn't want to throw another future pick. Maybe I will at some point. Like maybe I would do something different at some point. Like if there's someone else that I like more, because, I'm constantly watching dudes. So I ended up just chilling. 244, Dante Trader Jr. out of Maryland. I don't know that Dante's actually going to go this far because it at least to their board, it clears up pretty fast. But for me, a guy that he's not as big as I think he presents himself on field, but that's okay. He's just under 6 foot, 190 pounds. He's pretty physically built, though, two-sport athlete. He's a pretty powerful player as well. This is a player that I think is very versatile in the back end, which is going to be the key, right? Versatility is key for our back end, how we play. He played in a single high defense a lot of times, but he was often the robber. He was often the guy that was going to roll down the coverage, maybe play a sky coverage underneath, be the outside zone player, maybe the hook curl if he has to step in a buzz situation. Like he was going to be more of your strong safety, kind of play those elements, but he could also bounce back and play the middle of the field. He could roam. He could showcase his range a little bit, go sideline to sideline. Now, athletically speaking, I have a little bit more questions about the length and the striding ability like a Kirby Joseph would have. And that's where I kind of a little bit concerned because I'm like, there could be a little bit of a top end to like how much we can actually tap into flexibility wise. He might have to be constantly down closer to the box. And I don't think he's like a he doesn't feel like, man, he's a rocket against the run. Like, oh, look at him in pursuit. He's just flying around smacking. Like, I didn't get that vibe from him, but I got reliability from him. I got coverage ability where he's taking the football away. He reads the quarterback's eyes quickly. He trusts his instincts. I mean, first game I ended up going through was Virginia. And a quarter in, this dude has an interception. He's just, rolling over a passing concept, picks it off. I mean, he feels the quarterback, kind of just steps over top of it. So for me, the flexibility is something I always look for. I also love the body type because I think it's going to allow him to survive in the box. So I always look for those two things when it comes to a lion safety. And that's ultimately why I went this direction. There's a lot of corners that I would actually consider as well that could potentially play both spots, right? Where maybe I'm like, oh, maybe I can put him at the safety position. But I just like his build. And I think you throw him with Avonte Maddox, and we could have something there. Like, I also want to just see him kind of focus on football and kind of see what that turns into as well. So I don't know. He kind of feels like he could go a little bit earlier to me. Like, it wouldn't shock me, but athletically, he didn't test out as someone that would go earlier. So ultimately, maybe that's just the reason that they have him at this spot on the board. I just don't think they've updated it yet. So I think that's why that's where it's at. But ultimately, there you go. That is, I don't know what the heck. This is like the 104th mock draft. I don't know. It's like the third one or something that we've done over here on Bleacher Report. But that's gonna wrap this mock draft up, man. Just to quickly recap, kind of go through it. So in terms of, like, I remember last time someone's talking about like finding starters. In terms of last time here, like, Tyler Booker is gonna come in and start. That's the one I feel very comfortable of. I feel really good about that one. And you guys know, like, I'm not trying to. I think by the time we get to the actual draft, I'll do a predictive mock, like guys I think that they'll draft, that kind of thing. But this tries to mesh those two things together. I try to mesh like guys that I like, of course. I don't like them. It's going to be hard for me to make it make sense. But then it's also what I think could fit the Lions. Like, it has to make sense as well there. Like, if I'm like, I like this guy, but he doesn't make any sense for us because he doesn't fit at all. He's got no body type to fit. I'm not going to draft the guy. So it's got to be a little bit of both. But ultimately, when I do my predictive mock draft, that's where I'll really just try to predict who I think they're going to draft. When it comes to this, it's a little bit of both for me here. And that's how these drafts kind of end up shaking out a little bit. So there is kind of that balance of value, but I try not to draft guys that I'm just like, well, I've heard some buzz here. Maybe like Gray Zabel. I'm just not as high on Gray Zabel. Now, maybe the Senior Bowl holds more weight for him, and that's kind of the thing that gets him over the top because he was amazing there. But like, if I put the two side by side, for me, it's Booker. Like, if I put and I understand you could see Zabel's maybe is a better fit, his flexibility in the line, athleticism. From a consistency perspective, though, I just trust Booker. I'm like, this is going to work. I got concerns about some of these tackles even working. Forget just the value. I don't know if some of these guys are going to connect to the NFL. I got legitimate concerns with some of these dudes. Tyler Booker, I don't. Like, this is going to work. It just, I mean, I understand people are a little bit, and their grades probably lower because of athleticism. Again, it's not that far off from what we already have at guard. He's going to work in the NFL, right? That's where I'm at with it, right? And the leadership qualities don't hurt. Braden Swinson, for me, that one is also a guy that I think just fits. I think that one fits how the Lions play stylistically. I think he plays with that dog to his game. I want to see him continue to tap more into it. It feels like he's only on the up because this last year was an absolute breakout season. But I still think there's going to be limitations in ways that he can win. But I also think that there's creativity. Like he'll lose steam. He'll do some like little things that you're like, why is he doing that? And sometimes, like, even in like a coverage and awareness, probably my biggest knocks is like football intelligence wise out in space. There's like question marks for me where I'm like, I don't know where he's really going. You know what I mean? Like, I could see him drop. I'm like, I don't know what he's doing here, right? He's kind of just floating a little bit. Some of that doesn't feel as instinctual or like the best feel in space, but I know what he can do. He can rush the passer. And we think about these physical, toolsy guys. The mini Marcus Davenport to me is a Braden Swinson type. Jamari Caldwell, I'd feel comfortable about as well. Like, this is another guy. Like, if I walked away with Caldwell in this draft, it'd be like, we got a really nice player here. Like, that's how I'd feel about it. And then maybe he takes that Lee McNeil jump, and hopefully he does, because that'd be amazing. I'm not going to count on it, but maybe he does. But I feel really comfortable with Jamari Caldwell as a Detroit Lion. So that's ultimately why I went that direction, man. I think the flexibility is there. He's just a good player. Like, go watch him. Go watch him. Tell me he's not a good player. He's a good player. Danny Stutzman as well. Good player. Like, he's just a good player, right? And he tested out way better than I expected. So that's just only going to help him ultimately in this one. So other positions I could have went. I guess I could have went like receiver. I also considered tight end too. Just didn't line up for me. Didn't want to just force a tight end pick and make the tight end pick. I don't think I've done that. I think last time we were on here too, I considered tight end, just didn't take anybody because it didn't make sense. So it's got to make sense for me. Didn't make sense here. So ultimately we just stayed away from that. And then I think everything, I mean, from a needs perspective, we don't really have that many holes, but I guess this kind of fills it, right? I think it kind of does. And I think I'm walking away with the strength of the draft, which is good, right? You get the best guard in the draft. I think the best guard in the draft. You walk away with one of these edge rushers in a loaded group that fits you. And then you end up getting the last true nose tackle, as Brad Holmes would say. So that wraps it up. Appreciate y'all joining. Have a great weekend. And we'll be back, man, next Monday, same time, 6 p.m. Eastern time over here on Bleacher Report, man. So tune in, and we'll figure out what next Monday is going to look like. I don't know yet. But I know we got to do another These Guys Feel Like Lions episode. We'll get to that though. But until then, I'm out. Appreciate y'all joining. Have a great weekend. All right, y'all. All right, y'all. I think it's over. I think it ended. Yeah. See, that's weird. See, it doesn't have like it's not like StreamYard. Like StreamYard lets me know that thing's over. This thing does not tell me this thing's over, but it's officially over, I think. Okay. I actually had clips. Here's the disappointing thing. I actually had clips for these players, but when we do them live, I can't actually show them. It doesn't show up. It actually just cuts off the show completely. So I don't want to do that unless it's a pre-recorded video. We'll start to get the pre-recorded mock drafts, but we're doing them live anyways over there. So I just put them over here as well because, man, I love doing these mock drafts, bro. I love it. It makes me think about different scenarios, trying to keep an open mind to everything. And I think that this mock draft is completely new. I don't think we've drafted any of these. I think we drafted Tyler Booker once. I traded up to get him because and they haven't moved their board, which is crazy. But I traded up to get him once. I think that's the only time I've taken him. I don't think I've drafted any of these other dudes, but I feel really good about this one. Let me see who's in the chat before we get out of here. I keep forgetting you like drafting different players, keep things fresh. Absolute, man. I like to mix it up. It helps me too because I don't want to just if I like 7 guys, you know what I mean? And I draft the same 10 and I just rotate dudes, I'm gonna know nobody they're gonna draft, and there's a very good chance they're gonna draft none of the guys that maybe they draft one. Probably gonna draft none. You know what I mean? I don't have a wide net there. So there's still guys that I like, right? Like it still mixes things up, but there are also guys that I like. I'm not just picking different names to take a different name. Like there's certain guys that I would not draft because I just don't feel like they're fits at all. So they still have to make sense. But yeah, I try to mix it up. But ultimately, it's kind of like I feel like it's a process, you know what I mean? By the time we get to the actual draft, like the mock drafts, the predictive mock is going to have some of these mixed in probably, certain guys from different mocks all kind of mixed into one. And we also probably won't use a simulator. I know in the past I stopped doing that. We had just drafted the players, but where I kind of think they're going to end up. And this is one of those years more than ever where I'm actually like ranking guys. So it actually kind of gives, at least in my opinion, kind of an idea of where I think guys are going to end up going. Give the draft a B plus. I mean, yeah, let me know what player you don't love about this one, man. You got to let me know. When you doing a full live stream, like just a random live stream, I mean, we'll definitely do more of those. It's just I want to have like a topic for it. I hit easy up today. I know the Tigers were like kind of doing their thing at home, so that didn't happen. But we'll get him back on here soon. I don't know exactly. I got to do some tax stuff this week, which stinks. But I don't know exactly when we're gonna do it. But we'll probably starting next week, man. I'm still getting caught up on a lot of these dudes. I still want to draft some of these draft prospect videos, which we're going to drop. I got a couple of those in mind for sure. I got one that's ready. Not ready to drop, but it's ready to record. And that's the Barrett Carter versus Chris Pooh Paul, as my man wants to see it. I just don't know. That's the next one. I think, because I'm ready on that one. But yeah, I mean, let me know. Lions have a process. Starts every players combine, top 30 visits, watching them, and throws days. Those are ones they like. Yeah, I assume so. I mean, usually that's how it goes, right? Guys that you bring in for a visit because you get an opportunity to meet them more. Again, I don't look at that anymore because to me, like I can't gain anything from it, right? So I want to watch the guys, and then if I like them, then I'll end up putting them in these mocks. And then as for me, a lot of it is because of that reason. Like it was like the whole Jalen Carter situation. Like maybe they didn't have Jalen Carter on their board, right? That was kind of the vibe. But I always use this as a great example because I love Jalen Carter. So I thought Jalen Carter was the best player in the draft, and he's amazing in the NFL. But they may not even, they've been like just completely out of him. The problem is I don't know really the inside. All I know is from the outside, what we heard and, what we saw. Like, oh, he showed at the pro day. It looked awful, to be honest. He didn't look in shape at all. But he ended up being an amazing player. So it's like, okay, well, regardless of how it shakes out, right? That's why I don't call these predictive mocks. I just call them Lions mock drafts because the predictive mock is going to be different. That one I could just go on like, okay, maybe I've heard this. This is kind of what I think that they'll do. But like, that's not what these are because that's not fun. You want to see me just sit here and draft dudes in the top 30? Like, what is that? You know what I mean? Anybody can do that. I can just pull up their top 30 list, start taking guys off there. I'm going to draft guys that I've watched and I got conviction on. That way I can make it make sense. So that's what I do for these ones. Can't see Brad. This mock is horrible. Yeah, let me know hey, look, man. If you got opinions on it, you got to let me know what it is. Because, like, just giving me no feedback on it's crazy. No feedback's crazy. He's a phone booth guy. Dan Campbell wants athletes on the line. That's what I'm saying, man. And it's also like really on both sides. I always go back to Brad Holmes, like having that experience, right, on the defensive line. Dude, if there's a position that I trust that they're going to like hit for sure, it's defensive line. Like I know Levi kind of missed because of the injury, but like eventually those dudes, I feel pretty comfortable about, you know what I mean? Like they're going to have some conviction when they take a dang defensive lineman. So I do feel pretty good about a lot of these, about this draft specifically and wanting to go that position. People having players 15 and 50. Similarly length. How likely are teams to move up and allow lines to trade down? To move up and allow the Lions to trade down. I think it's on the table. I mean, we're in like a money spot to move down. You know what I mean? Because the fifth year option, and especially this year, depending on how quarterback goes, Tyler Shuck could be on the radar for teams at the end of the first round. We'll see if Jackson Dart actually falls a little bit or if he actually goes top 15. But if he fell a little bit, like there would first and foremost, the fifth year option makes sense. I don't think you usually get I don't know. You usually don't seemingly get a ton of trades in the back end of the first round that aren't for quarterbacks. I think last year, right, we saw a receiver. I don't know. I think it was day one and day two. It may have been just right at the end though. Right, we saw the kind of the wide receiver swap. They took Xavier Legette went, and then so did the I can't think of who the other dude was, but we had like some late wide receiver swaps, but they were like one or two spots or something. So maybe we could see some of those, right? Lions maybe can move back in the first round just a few spots, but also stay in the first round. Maybe it's not a team trying to grab the fifth year option. The Lions also may value that as well, unless it's a quarterback. So my assumption would be probably wouldn't happen unless it's for a quarterback, but I can still see them moving back, especially if it's within the first round. Like if someone to jump from 32, if like Kansas City or something wanted to jump up, or Philadelphia wanted to jump up because they felt like they had a need and that dude was just chilling right there, that I could definitely see happening because of where they're drafting, where they're at as a team. Like they can be drafting more for a need. That I could see happening if it just takes a few spots. I also don't think they want to like go crazy and move up, but I could definitely see. It's on the board that teams are moving around. I think it's also just going to lead to a run of players too. Like I think by the time we get to really to your way you're saying 15 and beyond, I think edge rushers are just going to start flying off the board because everybody's kind of in the same category. It feels like I think tackles will be weird because we'll get a couple early, but I think they could also start kind of falling into that category. Maybe a tad later, we'll start getting tackles to kind of pour in a little bit as well. So I think it's possible. It's definitely possible. What I missed, man, you missed the whole show, dog. The mock draft just ended. I don't know what mock this is. I should have been like putting numbers to these. I think it's like the third one though that I've done on Bleacher Report. So I'm just gonna call it mock draft 3.0. That's what we're gonna call it. I do have I was telling the people before he got here. I do have the Barrett Carter / Chris Paul, not ready to go, but ready to record. That's where I'm at with that one. So that should that might be the next the next one we do. You know what I mean? That might be the next thing that we end up doing as a video. Is that also I saw the Lions change their numbers. I was trying to. Okay, I don't know what that is. Yeah, I don't know what that is. You like that? Is Danny Stutzman, man? It's funny because like I was telling like Rad hit me up yesterday. He sent me like a random mock, which Rad hasn't sent me anything draft related, so I wasn't really sure. But it's April. You know what I mean? Everybody really gets into it. So he sent me a mock draft. He had Danny Stutzman like pick 100 or something. I don't know what simulator he's using, but he took him at like 100, and he's like, I like Stutzman. That was the only guy. Let me actually read to y'all who he took because his was a lot of guys that we've talked about. But the Stutzman was the one that he seemed was fired up about. Let me see. He had Josh Simmons, which I'm on board with that. I'm definitely on board with that if he wants to fall there. He had Darius Alexander. That was the first breakdown video we did. He had Savion Williams. That's right, Savion Williams. I like Savion Williams. He had Jack Sawyer 152. It's crazy. I'm like, what simulator has Jack Sawyer at 152? I would be mind blown if this dude fell to day 3. Specifically 150. If he gets out of the top 150, I'd be mind blown, man. That's crazy. Like, I'm cool with the variance, you know what I mean? Because, like, we don't know. But, man, 150 is nuts. That's nuts. When you still get a competent edge rusher in free agency at the draft one like this. Again, you could. I don't know how aggressive lines are actually going to be for it. You know what I mean? Because it's like financially, I don't think they're going to spend much money. And edge rusher is pretty awful right now in free agency. So you would have to go with like a Von Miller type or one of these higher paid dudes to make that happen. I don't know if they'd be willing to do something like that. If this is how it went, I'd feel pretty comfortable with this how it went because then I'd have Swinson with Davenport, with Pascal, with Hutchinson. So I'd feel like I'd have either a backup to Hutchinson, which is probably the category I'd throw him in more. And then if an injury happened, I think he has the physical tool set to kind of flip and play over there where Davenport would play with Pascal and Levi. And then I get Caldwell. So now I have interior flexibility, nose tackle, and I think can play a little bit outside of a guard. I think he can sit in the B gap. So because I have that flexibility, like I don't think I would need another edge just from a depth perspective. I don't think I would need it. Like the numbers game, I think I'd feel pretty comfortable. I mean, I'm not against it. You know what I mean? I'm not against. Y'all know I ain't against it. I just don't think they're going to spend the money. That's right. I just don't think they're going to spend the money. Seems like a Dan Campbell guy. He's a smart player, man. He's a smart player. And as we were going through the mock, it wasn't just Danny Stutzman to me. When watching Stutzman, it was watching the other linebackers. And like every time I'm watching these other guys, I'm like, oh, I like Stutzman in this area better. That kept coming back in my mind. I'm like, let me go back to Danny Stutzman. You know what I mean? Like, I feel comfortable with this dude because I do think linebacker actually is kind of falls off pretty quickly, actually. I think after a guy like Schlesinger goes this year, I think it's going to take a drop. My criticism, DN more important than guard, first round, no wide receiver, B+. Okay, that's fair. So you're going off of positions. That's fair. DN more important than guard. So I don't know who would you have taken there? Because we've definitely done a lot of DN ones. My predictive will probably have us trading up for Mike Kell. We'll see if that happens. He wasn't available here. I don't even know. I should always keep these up. You know what I mean? That way I can look back through them. Yeah, just all over the place, right? So it's also trying to make the fit. Like I like Azaraku. I don't think we draft him. You know, I'm a big Jalen Walker. It's so stuffed though for me. Like Braden Swinson isn't far off for me from Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau. He actually probably is above JT Tuimoloau when I put the final grade on. I mean, James Pierce Jr. Right? There's not much of a gap there for me. So because everybody's like literally a 0.01 or 0.1 grade difference, it's kind of just a fit thing. And it really does feel like you're watching a smaller version of a Marcus Davenport. Like I can't help it. I'm like, this looks like mini Marcus, bro. Like that's what he looks like. Now I could see him actually going later though. That I believe is very possible because his body control is a little shaky. He had a breakout year this past year. I could see him. He's not the youngest prospect. He's a 5-year player. So I could see him going a little bit lower than this. But because they have him ranked there, it's like I kind of have to take the swing when I did. So that's why if I took Swinson at 28 and I traded up for Booker, flip it like that. You know what I mean? I would say at very least with these, if y'all haven't seen the player, I'll recommend at least watching like a little highlight of him. Just watch a little highlight. Another linebacker from Oklahoma State. You talking about Nicholas Martin? You're probably talking about Nicholas Martin. That's the old linebacker I know, Nick Martin from Oklahoma State. That dude can run. He can cover. He was awesome at the Senior Bowl. He feels a little bit like a very specific fit. And I do wonder about him a little bit with what we added this offseason. What was his name? We had to do this offseason from Indy. With adding him to the group, I wonder about that a little bit. But like for a specific skill set, I think he could actually work. If we're worse, he feels like he could be a special teamer. And if you're going that late in the draft, like I'm not mad at that at all. You definitely missed it if you're just joining. Nice catch, Rad update. Of course, he's a Stutzman guy. That dude seems legit. Yeah, let me read the rest of what he had. He had Simmons. He had Alexander. Which, bro, I'd be fired up. If we took Alexander, I'd be fired up. I'm gonna be honest with you. He had Savion Williams. Oh, he had Gelati. Is that how you say his name? I don't know how to say his name. I started watching him a little bit. I don't think I'm as high as everybody else is. I think it's because of his build. Stutzman, Sawyer. Yeah, Sawyer's crazy, 152. And they took Raheem Sanders from South Carolina. I'm not sure what he was going for there. I don't know if he was like thinking like fullback or he's just like, yeah, let's take another running back. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, we need to get it. Hey, if he's sending me mock drafts, he needs to get on the show. That's just what this is. I'm gonna have to hit him up. Be like, yo, if you're gonna send me mocks, you're gonna have to get on the show, man. Big gap between Donovan Jackson and Booker. I don't think there's a massive gap between those two. I don't think so. And obviously Donovan will have just a natural athletic lean is to go that direction. He didn't have the same last season, of course, as Booker did, but Booker's also a guard. And when you put Donovan Jackson at tackle, it wasn't the same as when he was playing at guard, in my opinion. I thought he was just much better at guard. That being said, though, I think Tyler Booker, what he does well, there's certain areas that he just does better. Like, I think he's a more consistent, sustained player than I feel like with I love the strain that you get from Donovan Jackson. I think there's more consistent sustain that I get from Tyler Booker. I also think he's just more natural people mover than Donovan Jackson as well. So I think they're pretty close. They're just going to be a little bit different stylistically. The flexibility will help Donovan. The consistency will help Booker. I think Booker's a better pass protector. I love Donovan as a pass protector too, but I think Booker's just a dog. I could see him being year one, the best interior pass protector in this draft. Like, that's how comfortable I feel with him. Now I'm Ole Miss. Who that boy? Hey, I'm telling you, we got a video coming out with him soon. I couldn't get him on here. You got to tell PFF to update the rankings, man. If he was sitting there at 115, I could have made that swing. This dude's going off at 63. I'm like, I don't know. I can't make this make sense. I just can't do it. Who would you start? Booker in between Frank and Panay? Right or left side. I'd probably keep him at left guard and just put Mahogany at right guard. It seems like the lines are comfortable with him there. I'd probably just put him at left guard because then I'd have that mix of like I'd get a lot of power with Tyler Booker right next to Taylor Decker, right, who's a little bit more of a agile piece, right next to Frank Ragnow. Then on the right side, I let Mahogany work next to Penei Sewell, right, because then I can just kind of lean on those dudes. And my thing is what you can do. It's interesting because what you can do well with Mahogany, right, you can run behind him really well. He'll need to showcase that you can get up to the second level with him. That'll be the balancing act, right? It's like, how comfortable do you feel in those spots games the second level? But honestly, I think either side you can make it work. You could argue for putting him on the right side. That way you could utilize like Sewell to focus more on getting those reach blocks to the second level, right? Because even think about what we did last year. Think about what we did last year. We had to get creative. We would run like zone plays and we would kick Penei Sewell. We weren't running like your normal offensive line sets. We'd have Penei Sewell literally go from tackle in between. Like he would work the backside of his zone as a reach blocker, but instead of like reaching and just scooping out a defense tackle, he'd kick inside the offensive line and then shoot up to the second level. His athleticism is that special. So you could do things like that where it's like we want to get wide, but instead of asking Booker to get up to the second level and go hit a linebacker, we could just ask Sewell to do that still. We'll lean on that athleticism and we'll let Booker just kind of handle business around the line of scrimmage more consistently. So I think that's you, at least at very worst, you're going to have that with him because you just have that skill set that Penei Sewell has, which is outstanding. You might want to check out Land Larson. I've heard of Land Larson. I haven't watched him though. Recently brought him in. He blew my mind. He blew your mind? Okay. What? I'll check him out. What DT or D end at 28? I like Booker, but we can get an O-line in the third. B minus D plus for me. For me, well, definitely O-line, the all positions are going to fall off. I just feel comfortable with Booker. If we're going, so you're asking me like what DT or D end at 28? I think Derek Harmon should be in consideration. I really do. If he legitimately would fall to that point, I think we should consider it because I think there's flexibility to his game. I like how he plays. I think he's got some real polish there as well. Realistically, though, that fits the Lions. Again, I think Micah Williams is a great fit for us. I just think we'd have to move for him. Yeah, I think we'd have to jump up to go get him. I think there's a lot of guys, dude. I think there's a lot of guys you could argue. We did the JT Tuimoloau. I think he fits. I don't think he'd go at 28, though. I wouldn't take him at 28. I still think TJ Sanders makes a lot of sense. Probably going to be more of a second round guy. I wouldn't hate if they took him in the first round. I think Swinson is a guy that could have consideration. Just depends on where teams are with kind of the age/later breakout. That'll be the thing that kind of holds him back a little bit. Ezaraku, I don't feel like fits the Lions as much stylistically, but I also think that he's an awesome pass rusher. We're just talking pure pass rusher. Got a higher grade on him than most of the other edge rushers in this draft. So I like him a lot. If he was there at 28, I wouldn't have any problem with Lions taking him. I wouldn't have a problem if they moved up and took him. I've done that before. I'm not sure on the James Pierce thing because all the outside noise. I like him a lot. I'm just not sure on that stuff. But it's there's just so many names, man. I would just have to look at who fits. Like I think I wouldn't take Jack Sawyer that high. There's only a few guys I think I'd take that high, to be honest with you. There's only a few guys. That's why I'm kind of in that in between where it's like I'd just move up because like I think there's a value in taking Booker round one, especially you get the fifth year. Because think about this, right? When you have Glasgow who can play both spots. You adding a fifth year potential to that with a guy like Booker, or if it was a Donovan Jackson that could play tackle too, if it was a Calvin Banks that he could put the guard, you adding that, or Josh Simmons, someone that has that flexibility, that fifth year can be super valuable on the offensive line to really, especially for an interior guy, if that's how his market's going to get valued, that helps us a ton getting, I think, a fifth year option on that. Sean Dolak. I know Sean Dolak a little bit. He was super productive. He'll be like a day three. He'll be like the end of the day three kind of pick. Draft goes like this. Davenport goes down. Who you're rolling out opposite Nathan Hutchinson. So in this case, opposite Nathan Hutchinson would be Pascal. Now that being said though, yeah, I think Swinson has the skill set. See, Swinson played stand up. I don't think that's a big issue for me. I want to see him head in the dirt more. All I've went through, I've mainly seen him play stand up. He plays that on ball role. So he lines up over 6 technique, will line up on the strong side of the formation. So I'm not too concerned about that. He can absolutely set an edge. He's got the bend to do it. He's got the ability to sink down in the blocks. He's got a lot of stoutness to his game. Like if you watch, he doesn't get moved. If he gets entry correctly, he doesn't get moved at all. He's got some extension, some length to his game. I think he could play opposite of Hutch. I'm not really too worried about how much he played stand up, and his forceful play style, I think actually translates to kind of what the Lions look for is more of a pocket collapser. So I actually think he'd be able to play opposite of Hutchinson. His length, his size, he's 255 pounds at like what is it, 6'4", 6'5". Like I think he's actually a really good fit opposite of Aiden Hutchinson skill set wise. I just think there's a balance because he's comfortable playing a little bit more in space, even though I don't love him dropping that much into coverage, but he can play stand up. You could have him just be the backup to Hutchinson in the meantime. So I think he interestingly brings a really good value to both spots, either the Texas A&M guys. So for me, I've done videos on both of them. I'm interested in seeing what they think of Shamar Stewart. We'll see where he goes. He could go all over the board this year. Obviously, there was multiple games where he just wasn't productive at all. He's a great athlete. There was games that he just didn't do anything. So it wasn't just about like, oh, I hear it all the time. I hear all people will say they'll act like, well, he was still impacting the quarterback. Like, no, there was legitimate games where he didn't really impact the quarterback at all, outside of just chasing dudes down. But I also have him graded pretty darn highly too, because the critical factors are pretty good there. There's just areas that need a lot of work, right? There's a reason his production was where it was, but I don't dislike him. And then for me, I think Nick Scorton's a little bit different. I have a Scorton as a little bit of a different stylistic fit. I think he could fit in kind of into that Josh Paschal skill set a little bit more. He'd be more of kind of your bigger body there. I don't trust him as much to hold double teams between the tackles, but I think that's where he could be rolled out in the NFL as kind of like a 3-4 end. I think that's where he could be rolled out. I just don't trust him against double teams. So he maybe work better as a straight 4-3 DN. But like for me, like I had him better at inside of an offensive tackle. That's where I think he's going to translate better to the next level. He's 6'3.5", 285. So I think that's kind of his build a little bit more. But I like him working upfield. I didn't trust him holding his ground as often. And I still think that he was a guy that to me needs development as a pass rusher, right? So like for me, again, it's not a huge gap between a lot of these guys. I appreciate the 5-piece, JK. How can I send you a mock draft? You can send it on X if you got X at 0dose of Dion. You could send it to my email. It should be on like the about page of my YouTube channel. We getting locked in for a Panthers game, or am I alone using my time wisely? Locked in for this Panthers game. What time do they play? I honestly had no idea. I had no idea. I know they started. Shoot. I probably won't watch. I'm going to be honest with you. I would like to go one of those. I would like to go to one. Torrey Horton might be one of the best deals. I think so too. I think Torrey Horton. Now, I have some issues with him. I haven't went through as much of his stuff. Just like some of the top of the route, the nuance, some little things to his game like that. Some things I still don't think are very polished in his game at all. But I also think where they rate him on here is a little bit inaccurate, because I think the middle rounds of receiver are pretty messy. Like honestly, I could see him going above. Like he could absolutely go above Savion Williams. I'd actually almost want to bet on he going above Savion Williams. Like for example, like if I put those two next to each other, I'd be willing to almost bet money that he'd go above Savion Williams. So I think they have him too low on like this, specifically their board. I do have some questions about his game, but when healthy, when he was dominant, especially in 2023, how much do you value that fifth year? I know I hate the fifth year option. Fifth year or trade down to get an extra 2025 third, which is more value. Probably the extra third. The extra third. But then I also lose the player. That's the problem. Like in this case, I lose the player. So like the fifth year doesn't counterbalance the giving up like the fifth year isn't worth more than a third round pick to me. But and you're saying 2025, so usually right now. But I also would lose the player in that case. Now, if I didn't, like if you guarantee me I don't lose him, all right, hey, we'll make that thing, you know what I mean? We'll make that thing happen. We'll probably have a mock like that. I think last mock we traded back. I think they will move. If you give me Scorton, no thanks. Give me Purdue Scorton at like 265, led to Big Ten in sacks. Super productive. I'm not sure why people are so low on him, to be honest. He's under 20 years old, isn't he? Isn't he like 20? He's a 3-year junior. Isn't he like 20? He's like late 20s. Late 20s. That don't make any sense. He's like late into this 20-year-olds. That doesn't make any sense either. Yeah, I'm pretty high on him, dude. Like, I'm pretty high on him. The only thing that I had to below average grade was his hand usage and his shed ability. I like him. I think he's a borderline first-round guy. It wouldn't shock me if he did. And he's the guy where it's kind of the opposite of Swinson, right? You put him next to him, like skill set wise, you could argue for either, but you could actually have him higher because his age and production, but his age. Deepest position in the draft. I think it's defensive end. I think it's definitely defensive end. I don't think there's another position that's even close. Running back. Take that back. Running back. Defensive end and running back. Outside of that, I don't think there's a position that's close that I've seen. I don't think interior defensive lineman is that deep. It has some good players. I don't think it's that deep. You just have to kind of get in and get out there. Cornerback's okay. There's some guys I like, but I think it's more spot players. Safety's got some dudes. Again, kind of the same thing. Where there's a couple like flashes in there. We'll get a couple first rounders though. That's unique. We might get a couple of those this year. Offensive tackle is okay, but there's just there's not a lot of elite dudes. Even outside of Will Campbell, even if you throw Will Campbell, there's not a lot of elite guys. There's going to be some misses in there. Pretty much guarantee you some early tackles that just don't connect. So yeah, for me, that's That's where it is. I do think though, yeah, like I like tight end. I like tight end, but I like the top of tight end. I think it falls off quickly though. So like for yeah, it's to me it's the defensive front for sure. I think that Donovan Jackson or Booker will be available at 35-40. Two to tangle. That's it, man. That's it. And it's possible. Like Booker's I think it's weird because if a team needs a guard, I think Booker goes first. Like I could see Booker going inside the top 20. If team needs a guard, I think Booker's gone. But if they want flexibility, Donovan could fit more spots. People may be more comfortable with Donovan. So I actually could see him going first just because of that reason. Team could take him over Josh Simmons. I think there's a world in which that could happen because they're like, well, Josh Simmons coming off the injury. When is he going to be available? That kind of thing. That's possible. I wanted to look up this real quick just to do this. Right here is James Higgins. That'd be a good one. Xavier Watts versus Makuba. Ooh, I don't even know who I have. I gotta look back for a second there. I have things on both of them. I'm not even sure which one I have. I don't even remember. I probably have Watts higher, but for us, probably Makuba. I actually think he's more flexible than Watts. I think Watts is a little bit. There's a couple teams that he makes sense for. I think like a team that's gonna just looking for true free safety is gonna fit. Trey Harris or Jaden Higgins. For me right now, it's Jaden Higgins, but I haven't watched enough of Trey Harris. I got some little issues with Jaden, but Jaden's not that far off from some of these first round guys. What do you think about Grant at 28? I don't hate it. I've never been that big on the whole Kenneth Grant thing, but I don't dislike it. I think his flexibility is going to be the biggest thing. How much they trust his ability to play outside the guard because he's shown that at Michigan he moves pretty well. I'm just not as high on the player, but I definitely don't dislike it. I right now I'm higher on Derek Carmen. All right, let me get this off. My bad. I want to show. Let me see if I can show this before we get out of here. And our next mock will probably be pre-recorded, hopefully. That way I can show clips when I'm talking about them. We'll do one of those instead of doing it live. But we do need to do a Trey Harris video too. Because I don't know how many wide receiver videos we're actually going to get to. But probably later, guys. I probably want to do later, guys. Just because who actually we may draft. I would also take Harmon. I think Harmon's a dog. I think Harmon's an absolute dog. Like, the issues that I have aren't major. If we took Harmon at 28, I'd be on board. Absolutely. I think Harmon's a dog, man. I think he's super well-rounded. He knows how to win right now. He broke out for a reason, though. Like, this dude can play. I'm big on Derek Harmon. Okay, here's what I was gonna show you. So we got let me do this just to kind of give some perspective here. If we put these two, Isaac Tesla. Oh, I'm a Tesla guy. I'm a Tesla guy. Tesla's like just banking on what it could turn into. I took Tesla yesterday at the end of round 3, and they were cooking me. Honestly, they were like, "What the heck are you doing?" Hey, look, man. All right, I can make it make sense. I took him for Jacksonville, so it wasn't for the Lions. So that's all good. All right, I want to show y'all this. By the way, I didn't know Nick Nash was that productive. I didn't know that. They cooked me. The comment section. See, I didn't look at the I don't look at the comments. I don't even want to see what they're talking about. They're gonna say some crazy stuff. So stop doing that. Okay, I don't know if my screen's doing that. Okay, here we go. Look at this. So if we go to Tyler Booker, right? This is what I was trying to make sense, but I should have pulled this up. So this is Tyler Booker. This is where he tested in combine pro day. 604, 5.321. We see the 5.3, 840. Again, the test scores were not great, and this is a big problem. The broad jump was not very good, but this is the thing that cooks him, right? Like, this is not cooks him, but this is what people, the 21 bench reps, I'm not mad at that. It's usually what our guys are around. Unless they're Nite Mutai, there's like 100 of them. The 7.96 3-cone drill, we get over here, it's a 7.90. The shuttle, a little bit better, 4.65. They're his pro day time, so that makes sense. But they're better. That's good. Also, the length is really nice. 34.5-inch arms, 11-inch hands. This dude's got claws on him. So you get those scores. And it's like, okay, the scores aren't great. But now if I put it side by side with Glasgow, right? So 4.65. If we take his pro day, a 4.65. I'm gonna compare him. His pro day, he had a 4.65 20-yard shuttle, which if you put it next to Glasgow, who's like our athletic guard, had a 4.63 20-yard shuttle. His 3 cone was the 796, 790 flat pro day, 763, a little bit of a gap there. Agility, a little bit of a gap. Basically the same in terms of bench press reps. Now remember, one guy's doing this at 15 more pounds than Tyler Booker. 40-yard dash, 513 versus a 538. There's a little bit of a gap there for sure, no doubt. The broad jump is the big difference here, right? Because you're getting kind of the whole foot difference there, basically. The vertical jump actually is in favor of Booker from an explosiveness perspective. So, like, there's a gap, but it's not as significant. Like, it's not like, and I like how he plays. So, like, that wasn't going to keep me away from that. I just wanted to point that out because that's like, bro, that's the main knock for him. Triple Crown winner. I feel like you did. You told me that. You told me that. I should have known. I should have known. I think you told me that. What was the thing? I read something in here, but I missed it. How many roster spots are currently open? 14, 15, 16, somewhere in that range. Let me get this pulled up. I think it's around 15. So, you throw in UDFAs, we probably about 6, 7 of them, maybe. Maybe they don't like it as much this year. You got some UDFAs, the draft picks. In this case, it's not that many draft picks. So if we get 6, 7, I don't think there's gonna be a ton more free agency signings. There's not that many spots. We might have to let go of some people at some point. I really like center from Ohio State, McLaughlin. Yeah, I think he's one of the more trustworthy backup centers. I think, you know what I mean. Like, I could see him finding a role as a backup center. He's one of the last guys I actually trust that is going to stick as a backup center. I struggle with Monheim, thinking that he can stick as a backup center. I really struggle with him there. A lot of these guys I struggle with. Flexibility I don't love, but I think that he could actually connect as a backup center. Now, he's gotten overwhelmed by great interior defensive linemen. I think Oregon was kind of messy for him, but I think if he's I think I trust him as he could be a backup center. I think that he can get there. How many bench press? I think he had 44. I think he had 44 bench press reps. What is happening right now on my screen? So we actually have I think he had 44 of them. Okay. So there was this mock draft, but there is nobody in this thing, man. I was going to check it out and see if there's if it was popping. I don't think there's anybody even in here. Connerly, I like Connerly a lot. I actually considered Connerly for this pick. I like Connerly because I think he's consistent. You know what I mean? I have consistent knocks on him, but I also think he's consistent in his play style, which I think could go to guard. I think it definitely could stay at tackle, but I think he can actually move to guard. I was watching him again today. 6'4", 313 pounds. He's got the build for that. I just had some problems with him, man. He feels small for a tackle. I think he's going to be a guard. I think his frame feels small. He's going to have to build it up, I think, a little bit. Hands are a little bit late. Lets guys in his chest a little bit. But there's a lot of consistency for him. You know what I mean? His feet drive. There's some strain to his game. He plays with an okay pad level pretty naturally as well, which is nice. I don't think he's a great athlete in terms of as a polar. But I like him. I think he could go. I think he might go higher than the end of the first round. I think that could be a little off. I could see him getting up to 20. I could see him jumping up a little bit higher. There's a lot of things I like in pass pro. I think he's pretty well rounded, man. I think he's pretty well rounded. Connolly's a guy I got pretty high. We need to start looking for a left tackle. Maybe next draft. Yeah, maybe. I mean, again, I'm not in a hurry to get off of Decker. And we also drafted. We went tackle last year, right? We went Manu. So I'm not in a hurry there. Again, I don't know what Manu looks like, but that's why they drafted him. You know what I mean? And they didn't move him to guard. We thought maybe he'd go to guard. They stuck him at tackle. So based on that, I'm not really in a hurry to go get a backup tackle. I think that they're hoping that they have their future there. Obviously, have Sorsel too, but we're not really banking on that. Well, I want to see what Mutai looks like. You know what I mean? Or not Mutai. Sorry, I want to see what his name ain't Mutai. Why am I saying Manu? I want to see what Manu looks like. His preseason was pretty strong. Got a lot better every game. They said he looked a lot better in practice. So I'm cool with just kind of seeing how that plays out. He also played on the left side. It was Canadian college football. He also played at or on the left side of the line of scrimmage for them. So I want to see how that plays out. So I'm not a super big hurry for that. Manu's currently working out with Decker. There you go. See, that's great. That's great. And that's we kind of try to get ahead of that. We may not know, but also the same thing is too, they drafted him for a reason, and they're not trying to move off a guy. If they really truly felt like he developed, they're not trying to move off that guy already because we're just throwing draft picks then at the same spot. They're going to give these guys time. They've always given these guys time, especially trench guys. They give those guys a long leash to figure it out. So I don't expect anything coming there. Plus, I still like how Taylor Decker's playing. That's great though. I didn't know that. That's great. I don't think there's anybody in this mock draft, dude. Like I'm looking at this, bro. I think there's one person in this mock draft. Yeah, I got to get off of this thing, dude. there's one guy in this mock draft. All right, I got to get off of this thing. There's literally one guy. I've done a little bit on Kobe Hudson. He's got like some real route running issues for me. He's got some real route running issues for sure. But I like him, man. He plays with aggressive demeanor. I think he's going to block. Like that's first foremost. Like he's going to block for you. His tracking of the football felt questionable as well. Let me see what I had on him. But he played with some body control. You know, as a pass catcher, he's explosive. I don't know what he tested out like, but I know he's explosive. He just shows that. He's got a ton of juice in his game. He's got some acceleration. He's got some footwork that I think plays him well to the top of the route because he ties together with some discipline in a way that he kind of tries to set his feet. That way he can get in and out of breaks pretty cleanly. I just had some. I thought he looked a little bit tight. Yeah, I had a lot of issues with him as route runner, just in terms of the polish. I thought he would lose a lot of pace on double moves. They weren't fluid. In and out of breaks, he lost explosion. I felt he lost a lot of pace. He kind of just slowed down into those setups. I almost feel like he would have to be a guy that may have to run more like maybe more of a simplified route runner, like pretty simplified, like crossers, that kind of thing. Get the ball in his hands, let him run, that kind of thing. He fell on the ground a lot too. Like I don't know what's going on with his footwork there, but I'm worried about his release ability too, because he does have some short area footwork, but I'm worried about that too, because he was getting jammed off the line. He was getting stuck off the line. It would throw off his rep. He wasn't using his hands. So I think he needs a lot of polish. But I liked how he played. Like I liked him a lot. He was fun to watch. Would you take Walter Nolan or James Pierce Jr. if they fall? I'd take James Pierce Jr. Not going on any of the off the field stuff because I don't know, but I'd take James Pierce Jr. as a player. Off topic, but what do you think about the number changes? I love them, man. I mean, I'm fired up about Gibbs and JMO and Rakestraw. Like they're fire. You know what I mean? Like all these numbers are fire. Seeing Gibbs and zero is gonna be tough. That's gonna be really tough. I'm fired up to see what that's gonna look like. That's gonna look so sweet when he's running. Siobhan Revel versus Darian Porter. I'd have Porter higher. I'd have Porter higher than Revel. I don't have Revel that high, to be honest. And people are like now jumping on Revel big time, which is kind of surprising me. I'm surprised that it's kind of going that direction. Maybe I shouldn't be. It seems like people are actually jumping up on him, like believing even more. Need that JMO jersey, bro. All those numbers are tough, man. Those are all sweet. Especially, I feel like the number 9 is the quarterback number. Who's wearing 9? Oh, Rakestraw. Isn't Rakestraw wearing 9? Wait, who's wearing 9? He said, I feel like it's a quarterback number. I feel you on that. I get that. You know what I mean? I hear where you're coming from. I mean, I'm trying to figure out where I wrote down Revel's stuff. I was watching him one of these weekends, man, just chilling, just watching, rolling through these corners. I don't know, man. I didn't get the same. I also like some of his 2023 stuff. I think he played Michigan in 2023. Because I was like, let me just see like if he was going to work against Michigan. Yeah. Because like, yeah, the competition this year was super questionable. I thought he was a boundary corner. Where did I like him? I think I liked him more in press coverage. So that could fit us. Lengthy, a long jam, resets his feet well. Foot quickness was questionable for me. But yeah, no, I mean movement, footwork, hip transitions. I probably liked him more as a press corner more than anything. Off man, I had some issues for sure. I just wasn't as high on him. Terrion is 6, Straw with 9. Ooh, Terrion 6? I didn't even know that. Why'd he go 6? 6 is clean though. That's gonna look cool, man. I'm glad that they allowed that to be a thing. Like these dudes can wear any numbers now, basically. I'm glad that that's become a thing. I don't need to see offensive linemen wearing 6. That's gonna be weird. It just won't fit. It's like you're gonna have a massive 6 on that dude's jersey. But like some of these corners and stuff, I'm with it. So you think they go guard or edge if you had to guess? If I had to guess, honestly, I don't know. I think it's pretty close between the two, man. I think they could go either way. If I had to guess, I'd guess edge because there's just more options. I think that they would be more likely to take their swing there because there's just more bodies that I could see them make sense of. But I think it's tight. What do you think about Laporta because of the Bride extension? Oh, we paying him. Laporta is one of those dudes. We'll see on JMO. You know, we got to figure that out, but we're paying Laporta. And that I think like the did they just add a tight end or were they going to add a new one? I think it was something like that. Like they just added a tight end or something. It's kind of weird. He took the number 6 in honor of Kyrie Jackson. Oh, I forgot about that situation. Dang, I forgot about that whole thing. That was sad. That whole thing was sad. Wasn't that the Oregon guy? The Oregon quarterback? Yeah, that was sad, man. Wow. That's dope. That was awful. That was awful. Kyrie Jackson was so fun to watch at Oregon too. Yeah, that's messed up. This draft seems weak compared to the last few years. It probably is a little bit. You know what I mean? It probably is a little bit. But I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to tell because like I honestly I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell you because I don't know as many prospects like I think this year I'm ahead of where I was last year. But I don't have a great comparison, but I can say like I think there's a lot of positions that don't have a lot of depth. I think there's a lot of positions that fall off pretty quickly. And the top of the draft is going to be pretty strong. And then, as pointed out, like I think once you get past 10, it's going to be just a mess of. Honestly, past like 6, it's going to be just a mess of dudes. I mean, it's going to be all over the place, man. And then we get to like I think once you get to like pick 120, it's going to fall off like crazy. So yeah, it's probably not the strongest draft. You think Isaiah Bond, Tez, or Harold Fannin later round surprise pick? I like Isaiah Bond a lot. I think he's a dog. Not as big as Tez Johnson. Don't have a problem with Harold Fannin. You know, I think it actually might have helped that he had not helped, but like him looking horrible at the combine, like that actually could help a team like us. I don't think Restrepo's not good. I think Restrepo does things well. His route tree is pretty limited. Like I think Restrepo's is good within what he does. Ran a lot of those like corner routes. Like he did his job pretty well. It's the 4.73 time that cooks him, man. Like that's not. I think that's what he ran. I liked Restrepo. I did like Restrepo. But I also was never that high on him, so it's kind of a weird spot for me. Yeah, I don't think he's top 100 either. No, I don't really think he's top 100 either. But I was like I said, I wasn't that high on him. Like we came into it, he was getting conversation. I remember we did our first wide receiver top 5. People were putting him in the top 5, and I was like, okay, he was. I mean, not even on my radar. So I was never that high on him. So I feel like he's in a could be a day 3 pick. And I think his day 3 pick, it's a worthy pick because I think his play speed's better than his testing time, which is good. I think he at least the way that he kind of changes his routes, he's sudden. Some of these guys don't change pace, at all. He does that a little bit. He doesn't take routes off. The suddenness, the play speed that he maintained through the catch. He's pretty consistent on the routes they threw him on. So I don't dislike him. I just don't think he's like you said, a top 100 player. What do we think about Robinson? He's the guy I got to watch more of. I've only watched a little bit. I don't want to give a strong take on that. I've only watched a very little bit of him. But that'd be the kind of guy the Lions could draft. Jalen Walker at 5. Dion calling it. Hey, you saw the video. You know what I mean? Number 5. I'm not crazy. He's that good. He's worthy of that. You called people have Jalen Walker in the top 10. I don't want that to happen. I do not want that to happen. But Jalen Walker going top 5 is very possible, bro. It should be. Because look, if you get to Jacksonville, they need the defense tackle. They could go Mason Graham, yes. But if they don't, if you're looking for like, I truly believe Jalen Walker is one of the best talents in the draft. I also think Demetrius Knight is too. But I think Jalen Walker, like this whole Abdul Carter being Micah, that's cute and all because you played at Penn State. Jalen Walker is going to be Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons did go pick 2. He went like 14. This is going to be your Micah Parsons if someone can do it. I'm telling you, man. Bro, there's a case, but as a true pass rusher, right? Like I wouldn't go there, and I don't think that his off-ball ability makes him better because I don't think he's like an elite off-ball backer. The flexibility could help. It's like, hey, we'll just put him at linebacker and let him rush. He could be by far the best blitzing off-ball linebacker. But I also think like as a pure pass rusher, I'll tell you this: I haven't had a player with that grade. I've only had a few players that I've had with any trait that's gotten to the level that like Igbuka's hands were the closest thing that I've gotten to Jalen Walker's ability to rush the passer for me. I'm just being I'm so high on Jalen Walker as a pass rusher. I think he's gonna be special. And I think pass rush is one of those things. Is like it's gonna work. Just get him on the field, dudes. Just tell him to rush. They don't care where I put him. Just put him somewhere. Just let him rush. That's it. That's all I gotta do. Hearing Carter has some foot issue. Carter, Abdul Carter. Does he have a foot issue? I must have missed that. That sounds familiar. Right? I know Jahad Campbell had the back issue, which could lead to Jahad Campbell could drop, by the way. Jahad Campbell might drop. I didn't have as high as other people did. I had Jahad Campbell as like y'all seen it. Y'all see where I got like a 6'3". So I have him like back in first round, second round. But he actually might end up going there now with the back thing, unfortunately. I think he has a really bright upside though. And people are like, you guys were way ahead of Jahad Campbell than me. Give you all credit for that. You guys were on Jahad Campbell. You guys got me to watch him more. And y'all were right. Like this dude's a dog. But he actually may fall now. I hear Carter has some issue. Who am I? Yeah, Abdul Carter. I feel like I've heard that. Maybe I have. Abdul Carter foot won't have surgery for stress reaction. I feel like I have heard that. Oh, this is kind of old. Okay, yeah. No, okay. I do remember this. This came up in one of our topics, I think, back a little while ago on Draftaholics. By the way, every Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern time, Draftaholics on Roundtable Sports. One of our shows called Draftaholics. Go to Roundtable Sports, man. We're doing NFL mocks. We're actually doing division mocks, and next one is the West. So we're picking for NFC and AFC West. And then after that, it's NFC North. So I'll be picking for the Lions. So stay tuned for that. People are so polarized on Walker. The top 10 or not first rounder. That's yeah. But I could see that. And I get that, right? Because if you view him as an off-ball linebacker, you could make the case that he's not better than Carson Schwessinger. You could make the case that he's not better than Demetrius Knight. Now, is he young? Yes. But you can make that case. But if you make him just a pass rusher, I don't think there's any question he's a first-round pick. Radio station yesterday, Abdul Carter. Oh, man. Oh, on the Tennessee radio station? That makes sense. So it's saying that this came up end of February. This was like a thing. That's what I'm seeing. That's why I'm saying that. Because I feel like we did do like a topics show, like where things were happening. This is February 27, 28. This was a thing. Jalen Walker is small, but he's the same size as Micah. Oh, you know what I mean? Come on, man. You know what I mean? I think so. He's similar. I don't remember what his height was. Let me see if I had it. I feel like he's a little bit shorter. He's gotta be shorter. 6'2", 245. I mean, you know what I mean? I like Michael a lot. Not better than Walker. If they were both on the board and we take Michael, I'd be a little bit like, I like it. You know what I mean? I like it. But yeah, I like Michael a lot too. I think Michael's a dog. Michael's gonna hit. I think the idea that Michael's like so far away and it's like, oh man, he's got to put it all together. Like, bro, I saw people talking yesterday like he didn't have production. I think it was like Reisman or something that posted like, man, I really want this guy. And everybody's like, well, he doesn't have production. It's like, wait a minute. Michael Williams has production. Like, I understand it's not like some of the level that like Josiah Stewart has a pressure rate, but it's not like he doesn't have production. The guy's like 3 straight years of 6 sacks, and he's dealing with an ankle injury, which we can or can't. You don't have to throw that on top of it. Fact is, dude's been productive. He's not even playing that many snaps. The dude's rotating. It's not like he's playing. If you watch him, he doesn't play the entire game. The guy plays like half the snaps for that defense, and he's playing inside the tackles all the time. I think that's why people bring up the whole Trayvon Walker thing, because where he's aligning most of the time. But like he was still had production. It wasn't like he wasn't producing. The guy had production. I think that's crazy. Like, I don't even if he had played like a majority of the snaps, the dude would have had 9 sacks at least this past season. That's incredibly productive. What about trading back earlier in the first round to get Jackson? Earlier in the first round? You mean trading up? Trading back earlier? I like Landon Jackson. I have a video on him. Check it out. I like Landon Jackson. I don't have him as really a first round guy based on where I have him. But I do like Landon Jackson. I think that he could fit the Lions. I comped him to Zadarius Smith in terms of his rushing style. I don't really think he's a first round talent necessarily. So I don't think I'd take him in the first. I think he can fall a little bit, but I do like him. And that's the weird thing, right? That's where it's all. I think he's a little bit lower for me because the critical factors aren't the same. I don't think that he's like a true pocket collapser, even though that's more of a style, which is like Swinson to me is going to collapse the pocket, who we drafted today. He's not going to be a true pocket collapser, in my opinion. It's going to be a little more effort than anything. You know what I mean? Well, I don't remember. Let me see what I had on him. And we're about to wrap this thing, but let me see what I had. I trade up for 20 for Matt. Oh yeah, I would too. I would too. For sure. Like I had him with I've read this before. Second effort pass rush winner, not a collapser, an early run stopper that has limitations. That's a problem. Like that's not a first round guy for me. And then, like I said, slightly above average first step, slightly above average play strength, good pass rusher. That's his best trait. That helps. That gives you a chance. But I'm not like overly high on certain things, but he's a very smart player. He's disciplined, great motor. Those kind of things work, man. That's a good day two pick. That's a double. He's a double. Like he's a guy you drive, you're gonna feel pretty good about it. If the Lions walked away with JT and Darius Alexander, did we get better? I'd say yeah. I'd say we got better. We got better. Yeah. Like I feel like we could do better, but like we got better. The JT fits the Lions, bro. JT fits the Lions. I truly believe JT fits the Lions really well. I think his power is huge. His length is big. He's a finisher. He fits us. I just don't think he's as well rounded. Meanwhile, and I don't think he's like an elite pass rusher. Darius Alexander, everybody's high on. It's crazy because I thought I was super high on him. And here's the thing. He's one guy that I have not changed my grade on. I've just left it because I'm like, I don't want to change it now that people are high on it. But he's incredibly long. He's got a really nice build, 6'3", just over 300 pounds. He grades out well for me, pretty well. Like his critical factors are better than Landon Jackson. So there's that for me. They're up there with JT Tuimoloau, so like they're not on a huge different level. And I think he does a lot of the position things well. My thing, I had to wrote down deep differently. I had him as a backup interior defensive lineman, at least year one. So that makes him not a first round pick for me. That would have the potential to be a big defensive end in the 3-4. So that's kind of where I was at. But I thought that, you had to get him one-on-one. So you had to kind of put him outside of the guard because you had to get him one-on-one. That's why they kicked him outside the tackle box at Toledo so much, because they would race him from the inside with an outside edge rusher so that they could get him one-on-one with the guard, because he could beat one-on-one a lot. It was just you had to find one-on-ones for him. I was just a little bit inconsistent with his run defense. That's kind of where I was at as a whole. When do we know Super Bowl ready? As in, like right now, we're taking steps to build a team. Sort of like how the Rams in 2021. I think we're Super Bowl ready right now. I think just the way that we're talking about the draft means we're Super Bowl ready, because we're not talking about really drafting for that many needs. Like we could play tomorrow and I feel great about it. I think we're Super Bowl ready because of that, because we have so much flexibility. As long as we draft one edge, fans are going to be happy. Like literally, if we draft one edge rusher, fans are going to be happy. It doesn't matter. We just got to take one. If we do that, everybody's going to feel fine. Maybe a guard. If you draft an offensive lineman and an edge, even if they're not even a guard, fans will be happy. So for me, that tells you that, like, yo, you're right there. Just get some dogs. You right there. I like JT better than Jack Sawyer. I think that's fair. I could see that. He's a better athlete. I think people forget we had so many on IR. So many on IR. Jack Sawyer to the Commanders. That'd be good for them. They got to get against a run too, so that's good. We were top 5 DL in the first 3 weeks. Bro, we were good, man. We were really good on defense. What about CJ Hunt at Indiana? CJ Hunt. Don't remember CJ Hunt. I'm going to be honest with you. I may not have went through his stuff yet. What position does he play? CJ Hunt. Is that a linebacker? Take Sawyer at 60 if JT is gone. I would definitely take Jack Sawyer at 60. My thoughts on TJ from Ohio State. TJ. Talking about JT Tuimoloau? I don't know who TJ. There might be a TJ on that team, so I don't want to. If you're talking about JT, I do have a full video on it, so I would definitely check that out. Those are my thoughts on him. I just have him lower. Like I don't have him as like a first round kind of guy, but I like him. I have him kind of in the same grouping. Let me see where I had him in comparison to everybody else before we keep it moving. I have him right above Birch, Jordan Birch, and right below Winston from Penn State. So I got him in the day 2 range, round 2, round 3. That's kind of where I got him. I like Birch a lot. I think Birch is good. We'll see where he pans out at, but yeah, I got him in a day 2 spot. Norman Lott. I don't know. I really like that. Trade scenario: Hooker to the Titans for Levis next year's 3rd rounder. What do you think? Hooker to Titans for Levis in a next year's 3rd rounder. Oh man, I don't want to get him up Hooker, bro. Honestly, I'd say no, dog. I'm not messing with Hooker. I've said that before. I'm not touching that. Hooker's a lion until he's not a lion. But if you throw in a third rounder, it's kind of hard not to do it. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be honest. If you give me a third rounder, we might have to make that happen. Jack Sawyer and Hutchinson would feed families. There you go. Norwood Lots as an interior passer should be great. Second, third round. Aleem Hutch. I wasn't as high on Norman Lott, but he could definitely get after the quarterback. So I don't hate where you're coming from there. I don't hate that at all. Now, I do think they want to use Pascal a lot on pass downs. And I think that they liked what he saw at guard. If you remember at the preseason, he played a ton over the guard. Remember when our backups were in there and Pascal was in there too for some reason? Like, why is he out there? He was over guards, rushing over guards. I think that's what they're hoping to do. As a fan point of view, we are there. But when will Brad feel like we're there? If we lose players to injury, will we go sign an impact player immediately? I don't know. Like, I feel like we did, right? I mean, we did make a trade for Za'Darius. A couple years ago, we signed some veterans. We signed, I mean, they weren't big, but we went out and we got Bruce Irvin late. We signed Vildor, who ended up being our starter. Like we did some, I mean, they weren't major, but I think over the last couple of years, we shifted into adding veterans late. We shifted into that late. And then, yeah, it's a hard question, man. You know, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Because it just depends. So it's like from a salary cap, like I don't think right now they need to go sign Von Miller to like tell me that they're trying to win. Because I understand what they're trying to do. They're like, yo, we need to roll that money over. Like I think he's laid it out, and at least in my opinion, we'll see how it shakes out pretty clearly to me. Like, yo, we need this money. Like we can't spend this. And I get that. So I don't have any problem with it. He's trying to make it. He told us that he was going to. What he told us as fans was that we're going to have this. The Super Window's not going to close, essentially, right? We want to be a consistent winner. And he's doing everything he can to make sure that that's real. And we want to be a consistent winner. I got to leave this door open. So I have to be smart with our money here. So I personally don't have a problem with what he's doing. I think last year we had a shot. I mean, obviously all the injuries hurt, but I still think we had a shot. I think if we were better schematically defensively, I think we would have had a shot in that game. We don't throw a couple of those interceptions that were like it's too aggressive. We could have beat them. Now, will we have beaten Philly? Honestly, probably not. You know, not with the way that we played, but like I don't know, man. I think we're right there. Hopefully, we just get some impact players because at very worst, like that's what we've been able to do is get impact guys. And then if Terrion could take that leap, if Terrion takes the leap, we'll be in a great spot because we're not even basically relying on that. If he was the same guy as last year, we're kind of in the same spot as last year. But he takes a leap, your secondary could be awesome next season. DT out Nebraska. I know people are really high right now on Ty Robinson for some reason. I've never been that high on Ty Robinson. I like him. I think he's a back end day 3 pick. Maybe he gets more closer to the middle of the day 3. Like he's been getting a lot of buzz for some reason. I don't really understand it completely, but I don't know. We may have us doing a thing on Ty Robinson. I don't know why he's got so much love recently. I guess like he might have just had some stuff go off on X or something. I thought it was like a 3-4 defensive end when I watched him. Adequate get off. I thought he had good get off. I thought he had good get off plus timing, impressive change of direction, but he played skinny, lost his anchor, had some leg drive, which was nice. Can control blocks, a little bit of base width. His base width initially was a problem. Fell behind second level. Struggled to deal with single blocks a little bit. Like for me, there's just inconsistencies there. So makes him more of a day 3 guy. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why he's popping up. I mean, he can rush the passer a little bit because he's decisive as a rusher. There's some suddenness to him. Doesn't play with a lot of shake. But there's some quickness, some power. Like he can find effort wins. He's a day 3 guy. I wouldn't have an issue with him on day 3. He's a tough player, man. He's a rugged player. He feels like a Campbell guy. He's nasty as heck. That dude is nasty as heck. Vildor, decent. But you'd rather just go out and sign Gilmore or something, even though he's older. Oh, I mean, I was just saying during the season because I don't think like Gilmore was available. You know what I mean? Because we got Vildor initially. Remember, he was like, it was like week 14 or something, you know? And we've done, that's what we started. I was talking about more of the practice squad during the year. We started to add vets to that. Like last year, Quan, we kind of went the vet route instead of the young guys for the next year. But because like we really haven't prepared for the next year, we've kind of just went vets at the end of the year. But like even this year, like what position would you feel like you need that? You know what I mean? Like what position would we feel like we have to go vets? Because like even if you think about what Brad told us, right? He even told us like there's a lot of young guys that were maybe on the practice squad and stuff last year that essentially the way I took it is like you don't want to put a vet in front of that guy because then he won't play. But anyways, I'm going to wrap this up, chat. I appreciate you joining. I got to hop out, but I will see y'all soon. Have a great weekend. If you're just joining, run it back. We did a mock draft. Until then, we'll have another breakdown video soon. I got you. I got Shamar Turner above Riley Mills, but I like Riley Mills. We out. Have a great night.